The old alarm clock rang at 4:45 a.m. like a war horn in a battlefield. Marcus groaned, rubbing his eyes. His tiny one-room apartment smelled like cheap coffee, stale air, and a kind of hopelessness that had grown roots in the walls. On the floor, beside an old futon, lay a crumpled notebook with 3 words scribbled over and over: "I will succeed." He'd written it 100 times the night before. Why? Because that's what the old man at the park told him to do. A stranger with sun-wrinkled skin and eyes too alive for his age. "Words shape your world, son," he had said. "Speak what you want, not what you fear. Speak it, believe it, every day." At the time, Marcus had rolled his eyes. He had no job. His girlfriend had left. He was behind on rent. The eviction notice stared at him from the fridge like a death sentence. "Words won't pay bills," he had muttered. But something about the old man's calm voice and quiet certainty had made him try, just once. "I will succeed." At first, they were just words. But then, they started to sting. Because deep down, he didn't believe them. 2 weeks earlier, Marcus had stood on the rooftop of a 12-story building. Not to enjoy the view. Just to feel what it would be like. He didn't want to die. He just didn't want this life anymore. That day, as he stared over the ledge, a little girl below screamed in joy at a pigeon that flew past her. Her laughter echoed up like a signal from the universe: wait. Just a little longer. So he stepped back. That night, hungry and tired, he wandered into a park and sat beside the old man feeding birds. That's when everything began to change. Every morning, he repeated the phrase, "I will succeed." And every morning, his mind mocked him. You're a loser. You dropped out of college. Your dad drank himself to death and your mom's gone. You have no future. But still, he wrote it. He said it, even when tears fell, even when his stomach growled louder than his thoughts. The words became a ritual, a whisper against the storm. One morning, he stood in front of a cracked mirror and said it with a little more fire. "I will succeed." And for the first time, he believed it. Not fully, not enough to shout it from rooftops, but enough to send his resume to 5 more companies. Enough to volunteer at the community center. Enough to show up, even when life told him to stay down. Then one night, a call came. It was a startup. The hiring manager had seen his volunteer work posted online. They liked his writing style. "Come in tomorrow for an interview," she said. He hung up and cried like a child. The next morning, he wrote in his notebook, "I will succeed." And this time, he underlined it. The interview wasn't perfect. He stuttered once, forgot a name, but his eyes held something different: belief. The manager noticed. "You've got fire," she said. "That's rare." He got the job. Minimum wage. Entry level. Nothing fancy. But to him, it was gold. Weeks turned to months. He kept repeating his phrase. Sometimes it changed. "I am strong. I create value. I belong." His boss noticed his dedication. Promoted him. Let him help with branding. Marcus wrote a tagline for a campaign that went viral. They gave him a raise. He moved out of the one-room apartment. Bought new shoes. Called his estranged sister and apologized. She cried. They reconnected. 1 year later, Marcus stood on a TEDx stage. Clean suit. Bright eyes. Calm voice. He looked out at the audience and told them a story. About how a broken man wrote 3 words in a notebook. Over and over. Until he believed them. Until they became true. He pulled the old, wrinkled notebook from his pocket and held it up. "This," he said, "is the most powerful book I ever owned." The crowd gave a standing ovation. After the speech, a young woman approached him, eyes heavy with pain. "I've tried everything," she said. "Nothing works. I'm lost." Marcus smiled, reached into his bag, and handed her a blank notebook. "Then it's time to write your truth," he said. She looked at the empty pages, confused. He leaned in. "Start with this. I am not done. Say it, then say it again tomorrow. And again the day after that. She nodded, tears in her eyes. And somewhere, in the park where they first met, an old man smiled at the sky and whispered, "Words shape your world, son." Final message, narrator voiceover. Greater than, what you repeatedly tell yourself becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes what you create. The mind doesn't know the difference between a truth and a repeated lie, until one becomes real. Start speaking the life you want. The world will catch up.